At UFC 324, we've got Nikita Krylov taking on Modestas Bukauskas. Carlos, who you got in this one?
This one I went with Krylov in this one. Bukauskas, he's put together a good run. I think against a little bit lesser opposition, Krylov, he's in that middle tier where he's losing to some of the top guys. And what I do think about Bukauskas is I think he's a very good fighter. I think he can fight very smart. I think he can fight intelligent. I think the fact that and I think he's got all the skills to be there. I just think what Bukauskas is missing is what gets Krylov in trouble, and that's no matter what you want to call it, whether it's stepping into the red zone, danger zone, fighting in the phone booth, getting close to your opponent, close enough so that your strikes are effective, close enough where you can get takedowns effectively. And I think that that's where Bukauskas is struggling, is because he will fight and let the fight go on until there's an opportunity that he can exploit, which is not a problem. That's how you should fight. Don't force a knockout. But there's a lot of times where he looks like he can get the finish and he's still keeping the guy in the fight because he's not going for it. Whereas Krylov will step in and he'll either hurt you or he'll get, as we see, if we've seen, he's gotten chinned a couple times. So this is one of those crossroad fights where Krylov is that like that little bit of an upper tier, maybe the middle tier in that weight class, where he's got the skill, the ability, the experience to be there. Bukauskas is now going to test himself, I think, at that level. And I'm going to take Krylov only because of experience, but I do think that Krylov being a little reckless can, and Bukauskas being a smart fighter, I think Bukauskas can exploit that. I also think that Krylov's a little quicker, little lighter on the feet, and Bukauskas is kind of heavy on the feet, and I think that Krylov can actually exploit that too. So I'm going to go with that, and I think I'm going to go with the fact that Krylov is a little bit more aggressive to get this done. Not the brightest to get it done sometimes. He comes walking in face first, but I think Bukauskas doesn't really rip into anything, so I think Krylov can come in safe, take a couple shots, nothing too crazy, and impose himself from there.
Yeah, I've always had Nikita Krylov down as a guy who's got that opportunistic moment where he can capitalize and find a finish, whether that be on the feet or on the ground. I've had him down as a guy who, he'll look for those openings and let his opponent kind of present those openings to him, or he will set them up. And I think in his last two fights, he's gone completely away from that. He's had time off. He's come into the cage, obviously very eager, a little bit overzealous. He's come in and he's got caught. He's not let the fight come to him. I don't know whether that's down to ring rust or if that's just, he's a blood and guts guy that wants to get into wars. But in his previous two fights, there's no doubt about it. He's been knocked out. He's come in far too aggressive and got caught. To me, when you look at Modestas Bukauskas, I agree with Carlos's breakdown of saying, Bukauskas is obviously on a 4-fight win streak, but it's against lower level guys, not taking anything away from those victories. But this is a big step up. And you look at Krylov, a guy that's probably going to be desperate to get back into the win column after back-to-back knockout losses. I don't necessarily think that Krylov's chinny. I just think that he's come in far too overzealous. But when you look at both guys, I look at Bukauskas and I see all of the kind of physical elements you want to see in a 205er. Very big, very strong. He can wrestle, has decent boxing, his knockout power. But I look at this fight and I think, well, Bukauskas has had moments in fights. You go back and look at that Prachnio fight, for example, where he gives his opponents moments to be able to capitalize to hurt him. And I think with Krylov here, if he comes in overzealous, yeah, sure, he'll get knocked out. Anybody at the 205 division can knock out a guy when he's coming in with his hands down, kind of swinging wild and leaving his chin up there. But I think if we see the old Krylov here that comes in a little bit more measured, I think there'll be opportunities that Bukauskas is going to present in the fight that Krylov can definitely take advantage of, especially on the ground. We've seen with Bukauskas that he might shoot a sloppy takedown. He is a little bit more muscular, I think, than Krylov as well, which I think will serve him poorly in this fight. When you think about how the movement of both guys are, I think Bukauskas can be a little bit plodding at times, especially as the fight goes on. He wants to sit down on his punches, which I think Krylov is a little bit more lighter on his feet. I think realistically here, this is a get-right spot here for Nikita Krylov. I'm going to say that he either finds the knockout on the feet with an opportunistic strike, or he's going to be able to get this one to the ground, or Bukauskas might even take it to the ground, where Krylov's going to be able to capitalize with some sort of submission. But I like Nikita Krylov here as the underdog to get this one done at UFC 324.